Oolong Toys? Oolong Toys Papercraft? Hell yeah, baby. Ladies and gentlemen, this is internet personality Vangelus, and Don Figueroa's pet project, Armarauders, has been moving towards a toy release ever since it began. Now there are several issues of comic book, a whole lot of artwork, and a physical piece of playtime, albeit in pre-production form at the time of this recording. This is Cam's custom Bellerophon, Mecha Workshop's and Armarauders' debut release. This is the first toy that Mecha Workshop is putting out, but they've brought Sentinel and T-Rex on board to make this thing feel like anything but a rookie effort. As I said a few seconds ago, this is a pre-production piece, so bear in mind that while you're looking at a pre-production copy of the figure, it is a pre-production piece that is still being tweaked for final production, which means this is a pre-production copy of the figure, a pre-production copy of its accessories, and a pre-production copy of everything related to it. This is a pre-production sample of the Bellerophon set. And I'm going to start by talking about Bellerophon's pilot, Cam Knox. He's represented by a tiny action figure, sculpted up in a neat little spaceman suit and spruced up with clean, simple paintwork. The aesthetic and silhouette of the piece is pretty cool, especially considering his size. No, seriously, consider his size. He is tiny. An Armarauders pilot is about the same height as a Mega Bloks Halo Man, but far less bulky. When I first learned that this little guy was going to be so, well, little, and have accessories and articulation, my interest in the Bellerophon project was majorly piqued. I mean, he even comes with a display stand complete with a sculpted brand logo on the surface. This can peg into the hole in Cam's back when he's running around without his backpack. If you pop off his head and plop his gear over his torso, that hole is blocked. Luckily, the stand includes a Tamashii stage-style claw that can just grab hold of whatever center mass Cam happens to have. The stand is held together entirely by friction pegs, which means it has a propensity to disassemble itself with heavy use. Hopefully, that's just a plastic tolerance thing that'll be tweaked. If not, floor polish awaits, my darlings. Little Cam Knox has got some joints. He's got a ball joint on his head, and it's difficult to see because he's so tiny, but there is just a touch of wiggle there. And look up and downage. So that makes me real happy because this thing it's small, man. He's got universal shoulders, pin disc shoulders. He's got, I think actually some kind of pin disc elbow, because there's a bicep swivel peg that goes into a disc hinge elbow. Unfortunately, the elbow cannot fully straighten. It's always left slightly bent like that, due to the shape of the armor. His wrists can swivel. In fact, his hands pop out pretty easily. I wonder if eventually we'll have, like, bionic hand swaps on these guys. He's got a ball joint in the middle of his chest, which allows him to, once you can see him, do all kinds of hula hoop action. Like thus. This is both his ab joint, his waist joint, and everything in between. And the range on it is okay. He's not able to really bend a whole lot in any direction, but he can twist. Just enough. His hips are interesting. They're another pin disc universal joint like his shoulders, but they're like those old Iron Man 2 toys. I say old. Wow. Oh god. They pin up into his waist, so it's a universal range, but it works a bit differently. You can't just swing it out. You gotta swing it this way, then down again. Also, if you want his legs to be slightly close together, you have to have if you have the hinges facing straight forward, his legs are kind of V-crotched out. So you twist them both that way, then in a bit, and that gets his legs together, and then you can swivel them at the shins, and boom. I say shins because the thigh swivel, quote-unquote, is just like the elbows. It's right here, right above the knee joint. The knee can bend like that, and then once it's bent like that, you can start twisting it and break his leg. And that's it. There's no ankle joints. Would have been nice if there were some, but don't ask me how that would work. I mean, aside from, like, really carefully tightened ball joints, I think it would just end up causing more harm than anything it could have done to help. And he's got this, which is his accessories, his little bundle of accessories. So as you saw before, we gotta yank his head off, which can be a little bit scary, but so far the plastics felt quite able to survive it. And then we jam this on here and pop his head on to lock it in. This weapons backpack has a few features, the main one being that thing that just fell off. So it's got these two cannons that are ball socket jointed on. On this pre-production copy, those ball socket joints are a little crazy. And then the ball socket assembly, as you can see here, pegs down to offer some side-to-side swivel. This copy was a little bit malformed on the peg, like it's sort of bent a bit, which is really messing with the clearances because they're very tight. Again, this is a pre-production copy, and that will not be an issue once this goes to full production. And as it is, these things can still swivel around all right. It's just that this one, this bub here, tends to fall off while I'm doing it. But they can swivel around like this on the ball joint, and then if you use the peg to kind of, as you can see here, wiggle them like that, you can get them into a position where he's totally just shooting some friggin' cannons over his shoulders and, you know, blowing his eardrums out. I'm going to get them out of the way for now because they are finicky and one of them really likes to pop off. And this way I can show you the other thing stuck here, which is this little pack. Sticks into that hole there in the bag and boom. This thing also splits apart a little bit. It leaves its core behind, but you pull these things off the core. It's a little tricky. As you can see here, they are pegged in just using these two peg holes, and you're putting them in like not the same way around, like one up, one down, and boom. And these are a pair of just like big-ass guns, and he holds them pretty well. They kind of clip over his forearms and then slide into the little hole in his fist, and once they're in, they are in. Like, it's a good connection. I think it helps that his hands are a slightly softer material, so they kind of grip around the pegs. And then look at this, like he's just boom, he's blowing some stuff up, wasting wasters, if you will. There's no point in doing this because he's so light. I don't think that gravity can actually build up enough kinetic energy to hurt him, but there, look, he can survive it because he's tiny. It's like throwing a feather off the CN Tower. Like, what's it gonna do? Anyway, let's get Cam inside the main attraction. The Bellerophon cockpit has a little storage space for Cam's combined gun pack, while there is just enough room for him to squeeze in and peg onto the rear of the seat while wearing his gun vest. His little hands have got little handles to grip onto, though I find I sometimes need a little tool to line them up properly. Once everything's in place, the cockpit has a friggin' delicious geared closure / slot-in 1-2 punch of motions that are simply divine, man. I spent like half an hour just doing this when the review piece first arrived. I'm going to start off by looking at Cam's Bellerophon at its most naked state. No distractions. All mecha. And man, I am really into the aesthetic. This is based on original Don Figueroa design work, and is clearly informed by a lot of the kind of stuff that a fellow who once made his own line of scratch-built Transformers would be into. There are very clear hints of real robot mecha like Patlabor, but a whole lot rounder and avoiding an anime cliched Gundam face. In fact, I was kind of smirking at the sight of a classic Don F chin strap on the Bellerophon's head design. The main color of this figure is an off-white with a very pale and subtle violet tone, but the highlight of Bellerophon's paintwork is the legion of clean and often tiny tampograph applications. They're everywhere. Like, everywhere! And they add a high-end top layer to the piece that makes it jump to life in person. Oh, by the way, the head could get a little more naked, if you guys really want to show. The skull dome is removable, exposing some cool and vaguely creepy optic brainwork beneath. The visor piece can also come off, though I was surprised to not see an alternate colorful visor to plug on in its place. There is an alternate clear skull dome for those of you who like the look of visible robo-cerebellum. Cerebellerophonabellum. No, I'm not good at this. The Bellerophon's head rests not only upon a ball joint that allows it to look around and have tilt and all those wonderful things you get from a ball joint, but over here, where it's most difficult to see, there's also this little bit of hydraulic machinery that it can retract in and out of a slot while you're posing it. I think that's kind of cool. It's also just kind of fun to watch. The shoulders at their very core it's just a big ball socket, man. It's like a die-cast ball in a gripping socket. How do I know it grips? I wanted to figure out how to tighten this thing, and I sort of accidentally discovered that much like Sentinel's Riobot Blodia, these arms things can just, they're a whole assembly that pops out, clip pops out, and then this block here is, it's two halves that are screwed together around the ball joint. So if this ball socket joint for you is somehow, you know, losing its tightness, or just you want it tighter, number one, you just come over here and tighten these two screws. Number two, if that's not doing it, undo those screws, separate this off of it, and then coat the ball in whatever tightening fluid you wish to. I always recommend floor polish, and then put it all back together. Ka-chonk. I'm thinking, though, This looks like prime real estate for, like, all kinds of variant Bellerophons. Like, what if there's just a huge artillery cannon you slam in there, and now he's got a friggin' cannon for an arm? The ball socket joint is not the only motion, though. That's just where the whole assembly can move around via. There's also big ratchet joint for outward motion. Like, all the way up there. Look at that. And forward and backward motion is the ball joint. That's why the tightness of that ball socket joint is somewhat important, especially when you start weighing this guy down with more accessories. The biceps swivel regularly. There is a double-jointed elbow. Get a load of all that noise, too. That's just lovely. And then the hands are on a couple of joints. There is a swivel here, and a ball socket actually swivel, so you can get a little bit of waggle like that. But then there's a hinge here to allow the hand to bend around like this on its own. And then the fingers. Let's talk some finger. It's not my intent to hyperbolize, it's just my nature, man. Like, this hand, these fingers, these are some of the nicest posable fingers I have ever seen. So the thumb, gotta do this in the right orders. Aside from forming a really decent fist when I haven't, you know, bungled it up by grabbing it and mushing it around, the thumb has a mid-knuckle hinge right here, and then a ball joint connection there, so it can turn and whatnot. Then the whole piece here is on a dedicated hinge to come up like that. Each of these fingers is identical. These are all identically posable. There's a ball socket joint at the base of the knuckle, so you get a little bit of spread and splay. And that's also how these waggle around like this. And you'll notice something's happening. The ball sockets in here, due to the tension, for whatever reason, sometimes the fingers twist sideways. They seem to naturally want to twist sideways like this, where the 1, 2 hinge joints for the knuckles are bending the wrong way on this finger, as you can see there. And it seems to just be like the natural tension is causing them, when I just mess around with them a whole bunch like this, often, you see, they start twisting sideways. So hopefully that's something that can be fixed up, or hopefully that's just, you know, my bad luck with the luck of the draw here. But it's something to be aware of, because otherwise, these hands are magnificent. I would put these easily up there with Soul of Chogokin Gao-Gaigar's posable hands as some of the best posable robot hands I have ever seen. I'm not sure if these dethrone the Gao-Gaigar hands, but for their size, they are definitely accomplishing a whole lot that Gao-Gaigar is able to get away with because his hands are simply bigger. Getting up in this torso, there are some articulated points that are not so much about posing, but these little door things, you can pull them forward, then flip them up, and you get some micro-missile spam. So even when the Bellerophon's naked, he's packing heat, if you ignore all the guns Cam has inside here, or, you know, his nipples. He's got an ab joint, and it's in focus now, and it's pretty big. It allows him to do this, and it's solid. And this is a very emotive joint that I'm happy about. Goes well with the simple waist swivel. No ratcheting in either of these. They are simply friction, but they feel pretty good. Waist could be perhaps a bit tighter, but not too much tighter. The legs are big old-fashioned, not quite buttery ratchet joints. You can even see the ratchet teeth here if we take a look, like those zigzags. That is what's moving with spring-loaded tension. There's a simple thigh swivel that does not have too much range, actually. It works about this far. And I could have used a little bit more that way, but then, you know, armor starts banging into stuff. It's these plates. They start hitting his underbutt. There's also an outward Van Damme joint here, but it doesn't go very far either. It seems to be a dedicated hinge inside the hip assembly there. So thigh swivels and outward leg motion is, I don't even know if I want to call it limited. It's just not insanely posable. It's not this. But there's still tons of poses I've gotten this guy into, so I'm not complaining. His double-jointed knees are much like the elbows, in that there's a whole bunch of worky stuff going on, and it all ratchets real pleasantly. Then his ankles have got a swivel right here above all the other joints, then a dedicated tilt, and a very buttery ratcheted toe that can actually go down a little bit too, if you so choose. Like, that's the flat position. You got one click down, then a whole bunch up. And so far, the only problem I've really had with this guy, and this is being addressed on the factory level, I have confirmed already, is that his forward and backward ankle joint is a little bit loose for the weight of everything up here. There's die-cast stuff going on up here, and unfortunately right now in this test shot he tends to Michael Jackson a little bit. So this is being fixed on the production version. His ankles will be much tighter. It's already known by the folks working on this, so that'll be solved if you are a purchaser of a Bellerophon. And goddamn, I love posing this thing. I have had a lot of fun posing this thing, and I usually, when I was really wanting to just mess with the joints, I left him naked like this so I could just not be impeded by anything whatsoever. But this dude has gear. He's got all these little holes and stuff all over him, so let's talk equipment. So all those rectangular divots on Bellerophon's body are identical accessory hardpoints. Nearly every single add-on part uses these to connect to the mecha, and the locking system is really smooth. There's a solid C-clip connection at the bottom of the slot, while the walls of the slot add a touch of friction to really hold on to whatever's plugged in. I'm just doing the basic setup here, but you are entirely free to plug whatever you want into wherever you want, except for these two parts. These use an entirely different round peg connection for whatever reason. What are you... Oh wait, then these shoulder things use another completely different connection and... Mutants! With all his stuff on, Bellerophon's a lot heavier, and all these bits and pieces tend to do stuff. Like these things on the sides of his legs, they are on the ball socket connections to their mounting peg, so they can swivel around, and you can open the little door down here. And I think it's just meant to represent, like, an afterburner kind of thing. Similarly, there are a couple of flaps on the backs of his legs that can just do that. So I think that altogether that's to represent, like, some booster jet action. Straight up booster jet action is over here on his butt, where he's got these totally waggleable, like, vent thingies, and I'm sure just shoot exhaust and fire him anally towards his enemies. His hips have got a couple of different things on them. The first one I'll show you is this circular thingy. So it took a bit to figure out how this works, and checking out other people's coverage, you can slide this bit up. It's easy to actually fully remove that top clip by accident, but if you just slide it up, you can get this ring off, and you can slip this ring into a Bellerophon's grip. Now, why would you give him a little hula hoop thingy? Because these hula hoop thingies have got tab slot dealies so you can plug energy blades in them and just ruin wasters' days. So if you plug all these together in here, now you've got a crazy triple-bladed demolition blade. And you just slip that into Bellerophon's grip, and he can just stab things with them. One other cool thing that was kind of simultaneously discovered by... as far as I can tell, like, everyone who got a review copy of this, like, Pia and Josh at Collection DX, seem to figure it out autonomously of each other. But if you get this thing plugged in to, say, a forearm here, then if the forearm does not have too much junk in the way, and this one super duper does, you can spin this thing around on its holster, kind of like a spinny energy blade shieldy deal. And that's kind of neat, and apparently was entirely not intended, at least by the folks at Mecha Workshop. I'm not sure if Sentinel, like, slipped something in there and just quietly let it flow through production, but that's kind of cool. The other thing he's got on here, and you see I've got, like, you know, they had the blade here and this here, and then up top I kind of did the same asymmetrical placement. These things are just, like, swiveling holster clips for clips of ammunition. There are 2 on each. And you don't actually need to use either of those, they're just there as spares, because Bellerophon does also come with a straight-up, like, machine gun deal. It belongs to Nox, Maintenance and Inspection. And these ammo clip parts are the same as the things on his hips, so you got some cross-playability there. Also, the guns, more or less, fully disassemble. You get 2, and the barrel... it's just a big old C-clip. Like, there's a little rod in there. This thing's got some slight curvature on the end, so it just clips together. It's real super easy to pull apart and stick together. I have not found anywhere on the Bellerophon to actually put these guns, so for now he's just got to hold on to him. But holding on to him is not much of a problem. There is a slot there in the palm, and there's a tab here on the handle, and the connection of this tab to slot is super tight. But if you're going to get this thing in properly, you got to get the trigger finger in through there. wrap it around, and then get that slot in, and it is in dead solid. It's a really good connection. And I can shake this thing around and be an idiot with it, and I don't know, it stays in there pretty well. These weird mutant shoulder things are on ball socket joints that actually are easier to pull apart than the slide-on connections that the balls are connected to those little foldy hinges with. Hopefully that's another thing that can be fixed up in production, or maybe I'm just weird, but I don't know. At first I thought this was how you pulled that part off. Then when I realized that if that stays together, you could slide that part off, I was real excited, but it's really hard to get that thing off of there. These are just some more big shoulder booster thingies, and or shields, I suppose, and they are quite posable in and of themselves. They got a dedicated rail to slide around on the shoulder, a ball socket connection, a hinge here. The other mutant connection is, well, mutant shoulder connection, there's also those weird things on the back. These shoulder dealies have a buttery ratchet connection, actually, that they can rotate around with, depending on how much you get stuff out of their way. They can also just open up and friggin', like, multicolored missiles. You add in the pectoral missiles, and we've got, like, a whole, well, I'd say rainbow. It's more orange, yellow, and white. But we've got a whole bunch of missiles to shoot. That's the important thing. And Bellerophon's got a lot of missiles. Let's leave it at that. Up top, these cannon deals are on a, it's not actually a ball socket connection, it's more like a universal hinge, so they can move up and down, swivel left and right, but then this whole gray bit here is another rotating hinge part atop of the hinge, so there are a lot of positions these double-barreled launcher thingies can assume. Also, in production, these rocket things will actually be removable. In these pre-production copies, these were glued in, and if you've been keeping up with the reviews of the Bellerophon, you probably already know that. The weird circular peg connection boosters in back, these things, due to their circular connection, they can rotate up and down, but then each booster thruster nozzle rocket deal is on a ball joint, so you can do some more carefully tweaked, aligned rocket motion, and that's pretty fun. Also, this is, I don't know, man. But in general, armored Bellerophon, like, you know, this armor can get in the way if you put together bits in really dumb places, like sticking his gun clips on his biceps like I did, but he's still just as posable, and when he's got all this mush on him, he just looks like he's, you know, he's armed for war. He's ready to waste wasters. He's all just, like, pointing at things and going like, "You're not going up there. You're going down there. To hell, not to my crotch." The final point on the Bellerophon set's trinity of major features is its display stand. Now this thing does just look like a big old mechanical action base type of deal at first. The mounting piece uses an undercrotch hardpoint slot to clip onto Bellerophon, and then slides into the main support arm on the stand. There's like a geared peg so you can slide it in at various different positions, and it's like a ratchet joint that you have to pull out and plug back in. The arm can extend, retract, raise, and lower, all with solid locking designs to let you pose the Bellerophon in a variety of situations, or altitudes, or angles. But the real face of this mech's display solution comes in the form of these two extra bits that tack onto the central base piece. This creates a full-on hangar diorama, with a pair of towers that can be installed into a couple of single-plane positions, using the series of slots along the surface. The upper ramps can be connected via a sliding bridge, and feature all kinds of miniature engineering strata, like monitors or guard rails. But here's the fun stuff. Say Cam climbs up this ladder to get onto the upper ramp and, like, check up on his Bellerophon. But oh no, there's an alert! The ramp now elevates, lining up the connecting bridge with Bellerophon's cockpit and allowing Cam to hop inside. As the cockpit seals up, the bridge retracts, and the ramps swing out of the way, opening the gates of Waster Armageddon as Cam's Bellerophon springs to life and heads off to blow stuff up. This display stand is freaking playable, and I've been told that the final packaging for the Bellerophon will feature some printed backdrop stuff to further up the diorama score count. Also, those raising tower bridge things have a locking system that keeps them up, and you pull on these little tabs to lower them back down if you so choose. It's a little finicky, but it does work. Mecha Workshop's first Armarauders release has been years in the making, and I think all that development time has paid off in full. The Sentinel pedigree behind this piece pushes it to a whole new level, calling back to many of the qualities I saw in Riobot Blodia, which was the thing that turned me into a Sentinel fanboy in the first place. Their prowess, mixed with Don Figueroa's design work, and smashed into a $200 package of high-end mecha toy candy, makes for an expensive experience that squeezes a ton of value out of every dollar. The meat of this set is the Bellerophon itself, and it is a delightful piece of Sentinel-engineered robot action. The gear and equipment hardpoint stuff is all cool, but the very core of it all is a friggin' fantastically posable mech. Like, I lost an entire evening to just taking pictures, testing limits, and accessing well-outdated memes. Look, here are a few of the ones I've got up on the Vangelus Central Facebook group. Friggin' Sailor Moon, friggin' Sass, friggin' The two-stage victory of the set is that this really cool robot toy has a really cool little pilot figure concealed within its torso, not getting in the way of anything, thanks to some truly slick engineering. And the pilot, while kinda simple, also kinda isn't simple, when you consider how tiny he is for what he does. I really hope Mecha Workshop releases a few pilots on their own so people can experience one of these little dynamos without having to go all in on a big robot action figure if they can't afford it. Because, yeah, that price is a big $200. But topping all this off with a display stand that in and of itself has multiple moving parts and a full-on contained play pattern, I feel like all of that combined with the fit and finish of everything involved justifies the cost. All of this does hinge on you finding resonance with the aesthetic, so if the Armarauders artwork isn't doing it for you, the toy isn't really trying to be anything but Don F's design work rendered in physical form. But man, if you dig what you see, I highly recommend looking into pre-ordering Bellerophon when the set goes up for pre-order in March. Anyway, this has been Internet Personality Vangelus, and I am really not looking forward to packing this review piece up and giving it back to Mecha Workshop. The final version isn't out until the summer. I'll be left without the cockpit gimmick for months! Oh well, I can always fill the void with substance abuse. Silica gel, baby!